Afternoon and welcome to a short little how-to series on everything to do with wheels. There's going to be a couple different clips. We're looking to sort of the faculties of having deep section wheels that you want to stick on your tri-bike. I'm just going to run through a couple things that may or may not be helpful to you. This first little one is on what to do if you have deep section wheels, regarding valve extenders basically. So just a little look into what you do with those. First off, if you have something a bit like this, whether it's tubular or clincher, you're going to still have to run the valve all the way through there. If we take standard length valve, this is a tubular tie from a tub, it's definitely not going to fit through there. So the first thing we have to do is sort out something to make that a little bit longer, which is where the pain involved with valve extenders comes in. Now lots of people complain about this and complain that they don't work, and they don't work for most people simply because they're not quite doing it right. So to run you through roughly everything, you get two different types of valve extender. One which basically just you undo your valve, you screw your valve extender on, so the valve is inside the extender, you blow air into it, job's a good one. I'm not a fan of those. And another where you take your valve extension out, screw the extender on, and then screw the valve into the top. So you've literally just moved your valve from your tyre or your inner tube slightly further away from the tyre itself. I prefer these because when you're pumping up your tyre, you create a better seal if you have the valve at the top. You can get these to seal relatively well, but I always find the pump leaks around it and you're not quite sure what pressure you've put in. So I tend to spend a little bit of extra cash, have the faff of taking your valves out, and go with that. So first thing you need to do is you need to check the size and the length of your valve extensions are going to be correct for your wheel. So you can see my front and rear wheels are a different length. And what I'm going to want to do is just check that I can install it at the correct length before I decide which valve extenders to put on. So if I stick on my massive valve extender and take it straight away, pop it through the valve hole, and I can see that's clearly going to be enough, so that's fine. That's not a massive worry. Could do with being a bit shorter, but for me it doesn't particularly matter as I've got a disc cover on there, so it'll be alright. Right, so once you've played about with your valve extenders a bit, found your correct length, I'm being a bit sneaky here, so this is the length I've chosen for the rear, which clearly is not going to work that well. However, with one of the aforementioned adapters that I'm not too much of a fan of, you can screw it on to pump the tyre up, screw it off when you're finished, do the valve up, and you have the minimum amount showing under the wheel, so you don't have that massive long valve stem showing just above the wheel. And that's what I've done with both of my chosen lengths. So now you've sized them, unfortunately you're going to need to take them all apart again. And this is the bit that most people don't get right when they do valve extenders and complain of leaky tubes and bits and pieces. The key to having a nice tyre that stays up all the time is spending a few extra minutes having a little bit of preparation when you install your valve extenders. So for this I've used one valve extender, which is the screw-in type. I have the original valve core, and I've obviously got the tyre itself. The bit of kit you need now is some Ptfe tape. Every single one of those joins is an opportunity for air just to slowly seep out, and because the valve is at the end of your first join and making a second join, it really means you should put Ptfe tape around both. They'll just add a little bit of extra sealing, so you're less likely to leak air, especially if you pump up your tyres overnight. Although if you have a tyre like this with a latex inner tube, you can't pump it up overnight anyway because the latex is permeable and it will release air slowly as time goes on. So the best thing to do is just get a bit of Ptfe tape, all the way around the thread. It has a little seal at the top of the valve extender, that's quite normal. So this is really just secondary. You shouldn't need it, but in my experience you definitely do every time. And there's no reason not to. So just write a little bit round, tear it off. Careful not to get too much dirt in the Ptfe tape. Make sure the air can still get through, so you've got the hole at the top. Wrap it into the threads. Doesn't need to be too much on. And that will just neatly add an extra bit of sealing capacity to the valve extender. There's no need to go mental. It's got some spanner flats on it to do it up. There's no spanner flats on the top, and it doesn't really require any more than just hand tight. Nip it up. Same again for your second joint on the valve. Again, it's got a little rubber O-ring at the top that isn't actually that good at sealing anything. So just a little bit around the threads. Just acts as a tiny bit of extra security so that you don't have to worry on race day about your tyre being flat when you get to it. Again, if you're the kind of person that really likes no hassle on race day, then you're better off running a Butyl Tube, which is something like a standard rubber inner tube looks like normally. This, something like this, which you're more than able to pump up the night before, and it'll stay up. It'll keep pressure as long as your normal training tyres do, which is forever. You get slightly lower rolling resistance with a latex tube, so for everyone looking for optimum speed, I'd always recommend a latex tube though. And you just nip it up, just hand tight, and that should hold air really rather well. Now, your next bit of the installation issue, which is another thing that tends to bug most people, is that rattling sound of when you've installed valve extenders. You don't really know it's from the valve extenders, you just know that you have a dodgy rattle. Oh, it would help if I put it on the right tyre though. And that is really easily solved. So if you ever have a friend that moans that their wheel rattles all the time, tell them to do this. So you pop your tub, in my case, or your inner tube, onto your wheel, slotting it in, and you'll notice there's a little bit of movement in that. It's not really going to be an issue for me because I'm going to take that off, and I'll perhaps just have a tiny bit, but I need a bit of a gap there. But generally, your last valve extender is obviously going to be slightly undersized of the hole you're putting it on, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't fit through. And every time you ride over a bump and you have a little bit of a jog, you just hear it rattling around there. The best solution for this is another different type of tape, because tape fixes everything. Get a little bit of electrical tape, wrap it around your valve extender, it just increases the diameter, make it a nice snug fit, stop any rattling at all.